So when you were playing clubs and whatever, I mean, what was that life like before you got into this?
Well, I got in my first kind of professional band when I was a senior in college. And I went to music school, or just like a college where I was a music major.
Yeah, of course.
A liberal arts school. But I took over from my guitar teacher who was older and got burned out on the kind of nightclub scene.
Mm-hmm.
He got me an audition. And I got the gig, and I wasn't the best one in the audition, but I was the youngest. And these guys were all the age that I am now, and they saw a young guy that wasn't going to double book himself.
Right.
He was going to wrap cables. He was going to lift gear. They saw that in me. And for me, I saw an opportunity to play in a professional situation, pay my bills and all that. So when I first got into it, it felt like winning the lottery. But then maybe 5-6 years later, you realize there's absolutely no path, like a career path.
Right.
It's literally
a roof over your head.
Yeah, if your band breaks up, that was it, right?
Screwed.
Yeah. So so as time went on, and all of a sudden I'm starting to become more of a adult. I'm still working on that, but I mean, bills, responsibilities. I have 2 children now, stuff like that. You start, all of a sudden I'm like, what was I thinking?
Got to grow up sometime.
Yeah, what was I thinking? And there's no stability at all. But I was also in this point where I didn't really have any other skills to do better.
The thing is that a lot of these people, they learn to play really well, but it's a matter of having the timing, being in the right place at the right time, having the entire package, having the tunes, and even I know people who are great and have everything going for them, and just
I know
the luck element does not fall into place.
And I'm so familiar with that I realize how lucky I am, and timing, like you said. I had already played tons of gigs and taught thousands of private guitar lessons when what I felt like was the worst thing that ever happened to me, the economy crashing and losing all this work. But that was the only thing that could have happened for me to rethink myself, because I was so booked up with gigs and students that I didn't have any time to like rethink what I was doing or reinvent how I was doing it, other than being literally thrown in the deep end, going, oh my God, I have kids to support. I have a house that I'm going to try and stay in, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was just this immediate making videos to
So
have
speaking
people
of
refer
which,
me.
the pandemic didn't hurt you at all, though, right?
No, and I mean, anyone in kind of my space, whether it's it doesn't have to be music, but education, digital education, the internet, YouTube, all of that had a huge spike during the pandemic. And
Unless you were on-site education, unless you had to teach in a classroom, but if you could teach over the internet.
Right. And so I had been doing it for over a decade when the pandemic hit, so it was just, there was nothing I had to rethink or redo, but I did feel all of a sudden a little bit more of a responsibility to the fact that we were kind of, especially if you were, I'm sure you guys remember the pandemic, there wasn't really an end in sight for a while.
Right.
We didn't, I don't think anyone knew if it would ever end, really, ultimately. So, yeah, I felt a little more responsibility for people that were stuck at home, that were looking for something to do. A lot of new hobbyists started watching my videos.
A lot of people were able to improve because they had the time to practice.
For sure. And, I got to hear from a lot. Well, I always am hearing from people, and sometimes you get these really amazing stories, and I'm sure you get the same thing, with people, guitar changed their life or something like that. So
well, we get that a lot, where people just love the videos. It gives them something to do.
Yep.
But there are a lot of great guitar players who, when it comes to business, are not direct descendants of Albert Einstein or Warren Buffett.
No, I
you
know
the
this
pandemic
well.
hurt them pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's unfortunate because they have that artist mentality, but not the business mentality. And so hopefully they're getting back to work again. But
Yes.
it's just like the rug was pulled out from under them.
Absolutely, and I really, really feel for those people, and I can really relate because I could have been so similar to me. So I feel, I feel super lucky. But yeah, I'm sure you guys all saw the amount of live streams and videos that musicians started doing and trying to figure it out. And my heart goes out to anyone that was, affected in that way. I certainly got a lot of phone calls from people with ideas and requests, like on where to take it. And the thing is, like you said, the business side of it, there's so much that goes on. Even we could say with Norm's Rare Guitars, right? Oh, Norm, like you got the life, like you just get to play guitar all day,
don't be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, I mean, so much, and I get a lot of. I get help. I get great help. They're here behind the cameras. You can't see them. But yeah, it's nice to see guys out there gigging again.
Yes, it is.
Do you are you?
I'm trying to get on that list. It's crazy. It's so competitive now because all these guys haven't been gigging,
right?
And now it's opened the floodgates. So you got to get your.
He just played a few really nice gigs. One at the Whiskey and
the Troubadour. I played like the last show at the Troubadour before it shut down.
And then all of a sudden, things were starting to click, and
and then it was over.
Is it your band?
Yeah, it's my last name, Lemmo.
Oh, okay, cool.
That was more of a rock thing, but he's also doing kind of a smooth jazz record too with Paul Brown, who produced George Benson and a whole bunch
did
of
a
other
record with Larry Carlton together. But that one...
I've heard of
Paul's
him.
a great guitar player as well, too.
Who?
Paul.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, Paul's amazing. Paul actually is one of the top-selling artists in that smooth jazz genre for today.
And he's producing your
thing.
Yeah. So he knows the chord voicings.
Yeah,
right?
he knows the voicings. Yeah, it's so funny. But no, that'll be really cool. And I mean, that's what I did this year. I really spent most of my time recording that album. I think if you're not going out, you got to go in.
No, and so many people have done that. I don't know if you checked out the Bo Burnham on Netflix.
I haven't, but
So you guys are nodding over here. It's Bo Burnham. Is it called Inside?
Yeah.
Inside.
Oh, there you go.
But he literally, wrote. You just have to see it. But he wrote all these songs and shot all these videos by himself in a one car garage size studio room with different lighting and editing. He did the whole thing himself during the pandemic, and the songs they're insane, right?
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
insane. Yeah, and they're really funny, but also totally reflective on the pandemic.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
I feel like that was a hard part for a lot of artists. Like, they made art during this, and then they're like, how do I relate it to the pandemic? And it was hard to do it and make it cool. Like,
no, you just have to go. John Mayer.
There you go. Oh my God. TikTok light it up.
Yes. That's when I'm starting to feel old. Is the TikTok? Is Norm's on TikTok?
We're there, but we're not.
I don't want to tease anything,
Well, whatever you do, don't ask Norm. Norm doesn't know what a computer
Yeah.
is. Norm's kind of pathetic. I'm in a different world.
That's okay, because it says Norm's on the sign.
I'm old school. I've always liked to do business face to face too, and all that. So I've been very blessed because I've been around some of the greatest musicians. And
which parlays into your book. Can you tell me about your book a little bit?
Two books.
Two books, sorry.
So the first book we did was kind of, it was a picture book of a personal collection that I had, and I had every instrument at that time of doing the book. And Tom Petty, who was a good friend, did the foreword to that book for me. And that was, I'm forever indebted to him. And all the Heartbreakers, I love those guys, and you know what a great band. You know they could take 3 chords and make so many great songs out of them. You know, and memorable.
I've seen Tom Petty many times in concert, but the takeaway every time is that I know every lyric of every song he plays without realizing I know every
and they
lyric.
mean something.
Yes.
So
And that the simplicity is actually so hard
it's very difficult being
so
simple.
hard
You know, so
to make a song like Tom Petty. Like,
understandable to
you
most
know.
people.
I mean, you're like, yeah, anyone can play that, but then it makes it a song.
How it goes. Which one was that?
I was gonna try to figure out learning to fly. I forget how.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know what the chord is.
I've
There's
certainly,
so many.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
I'm sure
Free
a
falling.
G and a D are in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, he just knew how to make it so that people would relate to it and understand it, and
Absolutely.
also could play it. You know, so
Yeah.
a lot of cover bands doing his tunes and all
Yeah.
Oh
that.
yeah,
the-
American Girl has to be one of the most covered bar songs
Absolutely.
of all time.
I remember that tune. You know, that was really the first tune that I heard on the radio. That was Tom Petty, because I knew Tom a little before that. I actually played in a band with Ron Blair prior to him joining the Heartbreakers, and so you know I knew they were trying to make it like every other band in L.A. And I was driving someplace, and all of a sudden I hear American Girl, and I went, "Holy shit, that's Tom Petty! He's on the radio. They're doing it, you know." And it just, you know, Refugee and
Oh,
all
yeah,
those
then
other
it's
ones. I
hit
mean, you know,
after hit.
but it was just like I was shocked because I mean, you know, when you know people, you kind of you know them as your buddies and all that, and it's like, you know, you hope something good happens for them, but you know that the odds are like 1 in 50 million. You know,
Right.
it's like hitting the lottery.
Yeah,
So-
do you think it's easier to become a professional basketball player than a Tom Petty? I think so.
Well,
I
to be a
think the
Tom Petty,
difference-
probably because I mean, you could be a professional basketball player and make a good living.
Well, there's
but
more
Tom
of a
Petty was-
structure to sports because you can go to college. There's the scouts there, and that's what
It's
they
data
do.
driven, right?
Yeah,
So like,
so
they're-
you
Data-driven.
actually can
It's
tell
not a free
by the
for all.
numbers if
If
how
you
Which
got
you
what
could
it
argue
takes.
now that like, oh, well, you got a lot of Instagram followers, but it's different.
music
It's
is so
different, yeah.
subjective.
It is.
You know,
yeah.
that it's like, you know, one person likes some, but hardly anybody. I don't ever recall anybody saying, no, I don't like Tom Petty. I mean, that's like, he was
Yeah.
universal from like young people to old people. It seems like they all related to him. And, you know, it was just an amazing thing. And, you know, I was so glad to see it happen. And I went to so many of his shows, and I sold him so many instruments, and Mike, and my buddy Jason Snee, who plays with the Dirty Knobs, which was kind of the other band. When Mike was not on the road with Petty, he wanted to always play. So he put together this band with Jason Snee called the Dirty Knobs, and they were like the best kept secret in LA for many years. And for some reason, I think they were sort of held back a little bit because, you know, it was sort of a conflict of interest. And now they just they have a new album they're writing right now, and they have a record that they had out just as it came out, and everything was starting to break for them. Then the pandemic hits.
Yeah, they had a whole tour, I think, booked.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were ready to go.
They had the hit single, and everything was going. And but what a great band, and they're a great guitar band. If you love guitar, you want to see them. Everybody relates to Mike Campbell as if George Harrison. He just played the perfect part for every tune. Never overplayed.
Mind
just-
you of Tom a lot too, even when he talks.
Yeah.
Oh, they talk
Oh,
so
yeah,
much
They
Well,
alike.
talk
grew
so
up
much
together.
alike. It's
Gainesville.
hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
So tell me, who were the other people that you were inspired by, or that you really love today? Who were your big influences?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned like you've got the kind of like famous LA session-y kind of guys like Larry Carlton, who, you know, you hear his playing and it's just epic.
Yeah.
You know, the solos.
Lee Ritenour?
Yeah, I mean, so there's all that, and George Benson is probably one of the greatest guitar players I've ever, you know, witnessed, like in footage. I haven't seen him live. So like a John Scofield I like, because when John Scofield did stuff in the '90s with group called Medeski Martin and Wood. It was just very organic. Like he stripped it all down. It was just pure guitar tone into an amp, and super funky, not super heady, but like really groovy. So I love that. But I mean, I'm a classic rock guy. So the Beatles, Stones, Grateful Dead, Allman Brothers, Sly and the Family Stone.
All that stuff had a groove to it.
Yeah, I mean, I played in some funk bands. Like the first professional band was mostly 70s funk covers. So I always, dug into that. Doing what I do for a living, I learned like Billie Eilish and Olivia Rodrigo.
The thing, about some of these guys, these studio guys, like, George Benson, I mean, I'm not sure if he's ever done anything that was really more of a rock thing. It's either R&B, bluesy, or jazz,
Right.
that he would do. But there's some of these guys that, like Larry Carlton, for instance, who could play with one person and then play something else that was completely different and sound like he was right at home doing the same thing.
There's a lot of those guys, yeah.
Yeah, I've been blown away by just the more young prodigies that now are on Instagram and TikTok
Crazy.
and all that. It's quite mind-blowing and eye-opening because they probably always existed like that. Or
But
maybe
now you're seeing them.
but now you're seeing them, or maybe.
But the information that you
Yeah.
put out
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and they're starting young and they can teach themselves.
So I don't know if he's been in here yet, but a kid named Brandon Niederauer, Taz is his kind of stage name. He's got big curly hair. He's about 18 now, but he was just ripping from the time he was like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Now he looks like an adult basically, but he was like one of those crazy kid prodigies. He sings amazing, but just mind-blowing shredding on guitar. I'll show you his picture. You'll
Yeah,
know him
I
right
know.
away.
Yeah, yeah.
He played in the the Star Spangled Banner in the basketball finals or football, not the Super Bowl, but like
Playoffs.
the playoffs.
Okay,
He
yeah.
played, and he got a lot of
Right.
press for that and whatnot. But there's these amazing young talents out there.
Well, we've had a lot of
We
them
had
come through
that
our store, too.
Girl Charlotte came by. She was like 12.
Yeah, she
She's
could
been
play.
playing for a year. She's playing Eruption, and then she played Pride and Joy like perfectly, like rhythm.
12 years old.
Yeah, playing for a year.
Jaden Lehman, when he came through, the
Yeah,
first
there's
time.
so many of them.
Ellie's
Ellie's great.
Ellie,
There's a kid I've
Ellie
worked
Samui.
with named Asher Belsky. I don't know if he came in here.
I've heard
That
it.
sounds familiar, actually.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, he's
Oh, he
coming
did?
in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's someone that, but the cool, it's funny, those guys like Asher and I bring up this kid Taz, I've been able to meet these kids and they have said like, yeah, the first song I ever learned was from your video, or Sean Stockman, like, oh, I felt like playing guitar and your video popped up and I liked it and kept going, But I don't take credit for their guitar playing, but my
those are the
info was
formative
there.
years, yeah.
my
And those
info
are so
was there.
big. That's when you're all excited,
I
and
know.
you're the first guy that pops up.
What was the first riff that you ever learned?
Ooh, trying to think. It could have been Nirvana. It might have been.
Oh yeah. So I worked at a music store in the '90s in Santa Fe, New Mexico, called the Candyman. But that was the riff that everyone
Takes two
played.
fingers. Yeah, and then actually a lot of Nirvana stuff, like
Yeah.
Polly.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's great. It sounds great on 12 string.
Yeah, it does.
And I just remember hearing that Nirvana song over and over, and then just really bad versions, wrong versions of lots of things, but especially like.
Oh man,
Like just
that riff's a mystery. That gets into a whole thing. Hendrix's version and all.
yeah, the Stevie Ray version, all
Yeah,
that. So,
yeah, it gets wild.
Yeah. But kids trying out wah pedals. And,
Yeah.
and all that. So what's the future hold for Norms?
Well,
You gonna
we're
keep chugging?
Yeah, man. I mean, I only know one thing, and I mean, this is all I do, and I feel so blessed because I get guys like you, like Michael, Brandon, Dylan, all the guys who work for me here. Nick, who's really underrated, really great guitar player. And then all the people that come through here, and it's sort of I get like almost like a private show going on, concert,
It gets crazy. We've had a wedding here too.
In here?
Yeah, we've had.
Well, somebody dared
He gets
me,
a lot
and I
of
figured,
personal.
Oh my gosh.
Now you have like a warehouse or something,
Mhm.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we're not gonna put the address on or anything.
No, we're not.
But I stashed a lot of guitars years ago, thinking that where am I going to find another one of these? And it. Fortunately, I did, and the thing that was good about it is that I was really into things that were in really good shape and were original. So, and those things turned out to be a great investment. Sometimes you do things, thinking that it's probably going to be an okay investment and all that, but you never really realize what the real outcome is going to be many, many years later.
So
because you love it.
Are you ever gonna consolidate when you're?
I'm selling them as we go along, but my whole plan was, it was also a protectionary thing that I felt that as long as I had those instruments, that it would be harder for somebody to knock me off, do the same thing that I'm doing, because I had instruments I bought 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Because they can't get the inventory.
Well, from what I paid for them, I could sell them and make a profit for less than what they could buy them for now. So I did that, just for protection, and also because I love them. And listen, I'm a businessman, and I love to make money and all that, but I didn't go into it with the thought of, when I first started, I said, wow, if we could gross $500 a day. This is when I first opened the store in 1975. If we could gross, not profit,
Right.
gross. I said, I can make a living, doing this. And, I never dreamt the prices would be where they are and the acceptance would be where it is. I mean, it was, back then, it was a very inside thing, vintage guitars, how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is a lot of those guitars, the woods that they were using, the people that were building them, they were building very few guitars a year in comparison to what they are now. The people were lifers, the people that were the luthiers that built the guitars. All of a sudden the Beatles became really popular. Everybody wanted guitars. They had to hire people. Hey, come on, I'll show you what to do. But the guys that were doing it for their whole life, earlier on, they were the ones building those guitars. So you see something like this old L5, which is just beautiful. That guitar over there, which is Martin OM 18. And that one is, what year is that one there, Michael? Is that
32,
32, yeah.
and we got a 55 Strat right here.
Yeah, and we have a lot of really cool instruments. And there really is a difference in feel and in sound. And the manufacturers are building some really beautiful stuff today. So, they're really, what happened is I think a lot of those companies started figuring out that, why are people paying more for the old guitars than our new ones? So they had to kind of reassess what they were doing and try to figure out what they were once doing and try to repeat that.
Gibson's doing a great job.
Is the value holding up on vintage guitars?
It's been very good. And, surprisingly enough, on any guitars, if you would have said to me there's going to be a pandemic, and, I would have said, well, there's going to be a lot of people going out of business, and hopefully we can hold on. But it actually has been really good for us because just people are at home, and maybe some people who either had money in the stock market maybe pulled out some of their profit and said, I want to buy something that I really like. Who knows when everything's going to end, when the world's going to end, might as well
Right.
buy something, put a smile on my face, gave people a better outlook. And for whatever reason, it's been extremely good, considering the fact that we're only open 3 days by appointment right now.
Right.
So, there's a blessing in every curse, I guess.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Silver linings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been really great having you in here, Marty. I
Thank
mean,
you, Norm.
you're doing a
Yeah.
lot of good to a lot of people, showing them how to learn their craft and play the guitar.
What a cool step to be part of.
Oh, it's.
You know,
I
when
feel like.
people, that's
yeah.
like When you're most, I remember
how
that
many
the
people
most.
call us talking about you and they say, "Man, Michael's so inspiring," and
It's
he's really
crazy,
good."
the
It's
internet,
awesome, man.
and I'm later to it. You
No,
know.
but I've
I get a
been
lot of love.
I've watched you guys since before I ever walked into the store, and you've done an amazing job.
I appreciate that.
Coming in, and
And Mark did a great job.
Mark did a
was-
great
yeah,
job.
Mark's
I've
amazing.
crossed paths with him through Gibson in Nashville. But yeah, you've just
Oh, no,
done
I
a
appreciate it.
fantastic
It's-
job
it's-
and great playing.
Oh, thanks. It's a
you know.
different gig, man, but I'm glad to have a gig through all this too. That's the main thing. You have that YouTube channel or anything online. It's a very grateful thing when you experience the pandemic because at least you do have a gig.
Yeah.
And you got to say hey to everybody at least once a day.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys know. I mean, we were all kind of sheltered away, so I was watching your content.
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
all
just,
trading.
You know,
Well, and I think one thing that I think is kind of a cool thing is that people realize that guys like both of you guys are humble and understand that it didn't have to be this way and whatever
Yeah.
and it's you're lucky when things work out. You just do what you do and hope somebody's going to like it.
absolutely.
exactly right.
I was, the job I have is actually better than any job I could have imagined growing up, and it didn't exist. The job I have didn't exist. I wanted to be a guitar player or whatever, but actually, this fits my personality and my strengths even better than if I was like in a band or a session
That's
guitar
really
player.
inspiring, I think,
Yeah,
because
I
a lot
love
of
that.
people think, especially when I was going to Berkeley, you think, make it or break it. You know what I mean? I either am a
Absolutely.
rock star or I'm nothing. You know what I mean? But there's many
It's also
avenues.
age though too.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of people too. Send them around the world once or twice and see if they still want to do it. You know?
Yeah.
How many people can travel in a tour bus
Oh,
and not want to kill each
or
other?
a van,
Then there's a
gets
lot
tough.
of things with personalities where some people just are not the kind of people that you'd want to be around 24 hours.
Married
a day.
5 times.
Yeah. And artists typically already are
Already
difficult.
different people.
Yeah.
Well, like our buddy Dave Amato, who's an REO Speedwagon, he's such a likable guy. He would be fine on a tour bus with people because he's not moody. He doesn't wake up one day and he's grumpy and
Yeah.
looking to start a fight with somebody. There's
Gotta
so
watch out
much
for the
more
singer.
to it. That's why bands don't always last very long.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
I'm not jealous of any
Yeah.
bands.
Well, I'm going to ask you guys to take us out with something
Yeah.
else. But I
I'll
just
do a-
want to say, Marty, it's great
Oh,
having you in here.
thank
man.
you.
I mean, it's you're an inspiration to a lot of people.
Thank
and
you.
Have helped a lot of people out. Michael's done the same thing.
Yep. You guys have
Come by.
inspired me tenfold. I appreciate you letting me in to hang out and look
You're
at all
part
the
of the
beautiful
family,
guitar.
man.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
I'll do a little E-blues for you if you
Okay,
want to
yeah,
jam.
let's do it.
All right.
Hey, that was really nice.
Never go wrong. Great to meet you, man. Thank you. Thanks.
That was
Nice
great.
to see you.